That's fine.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Good deal. All right, and we are at it again. Thanks for joining us. For those of you that have not joined us before, my name is Clay Norman, also known as Pliglet number 33 in all of my comedy. I'm joined here with my mom, Jenny Thompson, who's going to continue to tell us a little bit more about that dynamic and growing up in a polygamous community and actually living in that lifestyle. So here she is. Introduce yourself, Mom.
Hi, how are you?
Yep.
Well, it's evening this time,
Yep.
so we're doing it late again. We'll have to
Yep.
kind of, catch up on life.
Yeah. Yeah. Been a busy week.
It has been a busy week. I went and visited my sister, and we had a wonderful time and just catching up on the past and enjoying life. So, been great.
Good deal. Well, we do have quite a bit to cover this week, and we want to keep these just short and sweet and just bring them all to you. So if you're all right with Mom, let's just dive right into it.
Right?
So kind of continuing on, wife number 5 moved in with you guys at some point into this Mapleton house, right?
Yes. So she moved in, and we bought a ranch. I'm not sure which one came first, but we bought a ranch in the middle of nowhere in Nevada, and we lived there. Well, we moved there later in life, but
Yeah,
maybe
that's the
not
one
that.
that's the one that I was essentially raised up on, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where you were raised.
Yep. You guys didn't move out there for a little while. How was the family like dynamic changing? How was it when wife number 5 moved into the house?
It went pretty good. We got everybody moved around. She moved in, things got busy. Wife number 1 had another baby, and we went through a lot of challenges there. Wife number 2 had lost a baby, and so that was really challenging for her and all of us. The baby had drowned, and it was um, a big upset for the family to go through that, the kids and us, and it was really hard.
Yeah.
So we went through that. Soon after that, then I lost a baby, and that was really challenging. I will go a little bit more into my story of losing my baby. So what happened there is I ended up in the hospital with that baby, and I was really excited to be pregnant again. And when I got to the hospital, they got me all, settled in. And I got to the South Jordan Hospital, I believe, and they flew me from that hospital up to the University Hospital. When I got up there, I watched the baby on the monitor every single day, kept track of his kicks and everything. The doctor ended up coming in and telling me that I needed to have an abortion. And I was not about to do that. That was against not only my religion, but there was no way after watching a baby on a monitor that I was going to say that it wasn't a baby. I didn't care what he said. So there was no way that I could have possibly in my own mind have said my life is more important than that child that I see every single day, because it had all of its fingers, toes, everything. I mean, it was a perfectly formed baby. So because I refused, then he called my husband in to see if he could talk to him into having me abort the baby. And I said no. And he said no. So after that, we stayed on track. When the baby got just big enough, then the doctor came in one day and said, oh, now it's not a fetus, it's a baby. So if you have the baby, then he can survive. So I guess that's what determines whether you're a baby or a fetus is a week or so. So that's that's how that went. So I ended up going into labor with that baby, and the hospital reached out to my husband to let him know, and he was racing up to the hospital, but he didn't get there soon enough before the baby was born. So when he got there, the baby did not survive. I watched him on the monitor until he was just minutes before he was born, and they worked on him for quite a while. He didn't make it, and I found myself feeling like it was my fault that he had passed away. It was really challenging for me. I kept thinking, maybe if I had stayed in bed longer, maybe if I had I'd done this, maybe if I had done that, he wouldn't have, I'd been a better person, whatever you want to call it. I just blamed myself for him not being able to survive. And it was really challenging for me. I had a nurse that came in and talked to me about, going to a therapist and getting some help. And you have to understand, a lot of times we didn't reach out to therapists because sometimes the therapist would say, you know, try to convince people to leave their husbands and that they were in an abusive situation or whatever. And that had been some of our experiences where we had seen with other people. So I didn't end up going to a therapist, but that nurse still reached out to me and told me that she was there for me. And she even gave me her phone number when I left the hospital, and I gave her mine, and so that she could call me. She ended up being somebody that really saved my life, because I found myself going into a real deep depression after that. It was really challenging. I was so down, and I had people telling me, trying to make me feel better about things of losing my baby. Like one woman told me that he wasn't a baby because he didn't take the breath of life. And another person told me I just needed to snap out of it. I was just trying to get attention. And had somebody else that said, here, if you hold my baby, you'll feel better. There was lots of things that were thrown at me during that time, which none of that helped. It just sent me down into a deeper rabbit hole. My dad had been really good working with me during that time. He let me know that that baby mattered, and that I mattered, and that he was there for me, and that I could have that baby in the next life. But even just saying that I would have that baby in the next life, it kind of stung, because I really just wanted that baby in this life. That's why I tried to have a baby. And it was really kind of challenging for me. I went into such a deep depression that I even contemplated suicide. And I stared at a bottle of pills one day and watched my husband outside the window and played with my little kids, and thought they're better off without me. And I just stared at that bottle of pills. I finally picked it up, and it was almost like as I picked that bottle of pills up, that nurse called me, and she asked me how I was doing. And I said I was doing fine. And she said, well, you don't sound fine. And in the end, in our conversation, she could tell that I was really down. And we talked for quite a bit. Now, I honestly don't remember everything we talked about, but she started giving me little breathing exercises, and really working with me to be able to get out of my depression. And the thing that really hit me that she said was, you don't want your children to go through and feel what you're feeling. So you really, you've got to figure out a way to step into a different way of thinking or a different way of life. She was really kind about it. And it wasn't like judgmental or anything. She just listened to me and was there to basically love me through it. And it's not that I didn't have people loving me in my own home, just that if people don't understand a deep depression and depression itself, it's really hard for them to be able to help when you really just need somebody to be there to listen. And you have to be willing to try to do other things besides just thinking about, going into that dark place in your mind.
Yeah.
So that's where I was at. It took me quite a while to work through all of that depression and to feel like that I was worth something. I started doing meditations and breathing exercises, and I would get up and make sure I walked around the yard and I would say positive affirmations and started doing a lot of those kinds of things to be able to help me pull out of that. And then one day I ended up having basically a dream that told me that I was going to have another baby. And I felt like I needed to have him soon, and that was you after that. So even though the doctors and everybody said, you shouldn't, after what you've been through, you shouldn't get pregnant again, you shouldn't have another baby, I just had this really strong feeling that I did need to have another baby, and I needed to have him soon. And I didn't know why. I didn't understand why I needed to do that. But that's kind of where my life was going down this road. As I was healing, I knew that there was another child that it was really important that I brought into this world.
Yeah.
So.
And so that people know, this was your fourth child, was the one that you lost, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It's tough, unimaginably tough.
It is, and I feel like a lot of times people don't understand what people go through when they lose a child. And especially when it's premature or something like that. But bigger than that, I feel like a lot of times people don't understand depression, and it can affect anybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that person's bad or good or anything. It's just part of life. It's gonna happen. I mean, not everybody goes through it, but it does happen. And in my journey going through that, it was a very deep, dark hole that I had to climb out of.
Yeah.
It takes work. It takes a lot of work. And
Yeah.
you have to be able to really work on your mindset and pull yourself out of that dark hole, because ultimately you're responsible to get out of that dark hole. Nobody can go in there and save you from it. It has to be you.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Nobody can help you with your depression but you.
Right.
That's
And it's not an easy journey.
Hard way.
Yeah, it's not an easy journey, but I feel like everybody that does it, they're a hero. Everybody that goes through that, when they get out of that dark hole, I think they're a hero.
I agree.
So
I have nothing but admiration for people that climb out of that hole for themselves. But I think it's never, I mean, maybe it is a permanent thing for some people, but I don't think it's ever been a permanent thing for me. I think it's constant self work and self care that keeps me out of that hole.
yeah. And I've kept on those and those exercises to be able to keep myself in a better mindset. And that kind of is where my Well, a little bit before that, but it really started me down my own journey of realizing that I was needing to change the way I was thinking.
Yeah.
So it started me a little bit down that path of that and realizing how much control that I actually have over my choices. It was just one more step in that direction. But I had to experience that deep, dark hole to be able to have understanding of other people, because I wouldn't if I didn't experience that.
Which is understandable.
Yeah. So soon after, a little while after that, I ended up thinking that I would have another child. It took me a minute. It wasn't like next week, but I was in hopes to have another child soon. And I had gone and talked to the doctors and about having another child, and they basically were not encouraging that.
Mhm.
But I did, sometimes you don't understand why life gives you certain feelings that you need to follow. And I was taught in my life to really listen to those feelings as much as you can and go by those directions when you feel them.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I needed to have another child. And that's when I ended up being pregnant with you. So,
Gotcha. Like I said, we're gonna try and keep these short, and we covered some pretty deep emotional topics this week. And I appreciate you being so vulnerable to share that, because I know that's not easy. It's never easy to talk about those low times and those depression times, but there's a lot of growth that happens there. So I
yeah,
appreciate you.
thank you.
Um, Other than that, if you guys enjoyed, tune back in next week. Mom, I love you, and I will see you and catch you next week as well.
All right. Love you. Talk to you
Okay.
later.
Bye.